Hello, my name is Barbara Mitchell / Garland. I had recently been married and I recently had a baby. So I am doing it while she's asleep because I can't get away from her often. But I will be discussing my behavior management class or my behavior management assignment for IEC 291, So I did the It's Pattern Time with the students and recorded it. So I will be discussing the other two assignments that I had planned on doing with the students. But we just had to do the lesson plans. So it would have been at Love and Care Daycare. I am actually the preschool teacher over there, and I have an assistant. So there's two teachers with about 5 or 6 students, all age ranging from 3 to 5. This activity or this lesson would have been over winter weather fun. The early childhood standards that would have been used in this lesson would have been arts and humanities, which would have been a use of variety of media materials for exploration. That would have been things like paint, glue, three-dimensional materials, technology, etc. English and language arts, identify or choose objects or persons by pointing, physically touching or moving toward another, initiates communication to have needs met, responds meaningfully in conversations and discussions with peers and adults, uses words, signs, and or symbols to effectively express feelings and thoughts, describe experiences, interacts with others, and or communicate needs, speaks clearly enough to be understood by most listeners, uses complex sentences with correct grammar, attends to adult or peer who is speaking or signing, follows simple directions, gains information through listening experiences, uses many senses to explore and interpret the environment. Many of my students are capable of doing many of those, as you will see in the first video. Health and mental wellness would have been follows routines independently, takes care of personal health safety needs with adult support as needed, uses materials in a self-directed manner, participates in everyday classroom activities, may need adult direction, works in small group situations with teacher support, manages transitions. As you also will see in the other video, many of my students are capable of doing a lot of those. Science uses all 5 senses to examine objects with attention to detail, describes objects in the environment, uses properties of objects, uses standard tools to explore the environment, asks questions and or uses other resources to confirm observation, and also social studies, makes predictions about what may occur, recognizes uses a variety of objects and materials that represent the environment, follows routines with little supervision, follows rules applicable to the situation with little supervision. They are also capable of doing many of those. The lesson objectives would be the student will use their fine motor skills to make their own snowmen. The students will use their cognitive thinking to be able to discuss what type of clothing you wear in the winter weather, which all they will learn in this lesson. The materials needed would be Snowman at Night by Carolyn Buhner, which I don't have that book, so we will listen to that as a read aloud. The Build a Snowman worksheet, which is a handout for me to give to the students. Scissors, glue, black buttons, crowns, and then Circle What Belongs worksheet, which is also a handout I will be giving to the students. The motivation for this assignment would be, I will introduce this lesson by asking the students what their favorite thing to do in the winter is, which we will be sitting around circle time in front of the smartboard, as you've seen in It's Pattern Time. My preschool room upstairs doesn't have a smartboard, so we go down to the school age classroom to use the smartboard sometimes, and their room is under renovation right now due to not having school age kids with them being in school. So we are doing some renovation to the school aged classroom right now, so there's a little bit of furniture stuff because we are doing some renovations to our in-home daycare. But we go down there sometimes and use the smartboard. So the students will be sitting around in a circle listening to Snowman at Night by Carolyn Buhner, and we will discuss what their favorite thing to do is winter. And I will also share what my favorite thing to do in winter would be. Okay, so the first thing we will do, like I said, we would listen to the read aloud on YouTube, which I shared the link in my lesson plan that will be submitted in my assignment. Then we will discuss what the weather is like throughout the story and the different activities the snowmen are participating in throughout the story. Then we'll discuss what type of winter clothing we wear when it is cold or snowing. The students will have a better idea of what winter clothing is after the story and after we discuss what winter weather is and what kind of clothing we wear in winter weather. As you can see, I'm wearing a sweater because it's a little chilly. We then will get at the table to build our snowmen. I will show the students how to cut out the circles and how to glue them down on my own worksheet. I will then pass out the Build a Snowman worksheet, scissors, crowns, and buttons. So this is the Build a Man worksheet. I will cut these out to show the students how to cut them out at first before I hand them this worksheet, because many preschoolers, once they get something, they don't really pay attention no more. They just kind of do what they feel like is necessary. So I will show them how to cut this out. I will then pass that along for them to build their own snowmen. After we build these snowmen, we will share with the class one activity our snowmen like to do in winter weather fun. And that would be really fun to share along with the class. The students will then clean up their craft, their glue, their scissors, their buttons, their crowns. The student will then play the Build a Snowman game, which is this. This is a Build a Snowman game. So to play this game, I found this online, which I will share the link also in my lesson plan. How to play. Place all the cards face down in a pile between the players. Players take turns rolling the die and following the instructions, which, as many cards, there's only 6 cards. I would probably split this game into groups of 2 since I have 2 kids, or 6 kids, so there would be 3 teams of 2. Place all cards face down in a pile between the players. Players take turn rolling the die and following the instructions. After all the cards have been used, players count up the total number of whole snowmen they can make with their cards. The one with the most snowmen wins. In case of a tie, the player with more snowflakes win. Okay. So, this is the die. You cut it out, and it tells you how to make the die. And then this is the card you use to be able to play the snowman game. That was another fun activity I had planned for the students. After that, we will listen to the Tidy Up song and clean up our materials for this lesson so we can continue with the next lesson. There was this I forgot to mention in part of that lesson plan. After we discussed winter weather fun, I would have handed this out, and the students would have took the time to circle what kind of clothing you would wear in winter weather fun. After we discussed what would be the appropriate winter weather clothing. And that would have been my lesson 2 assignment, which I have planned on putting in next week's lesson plans for my classroom, since it is still winter weather. I had already created this week's lesson plans, so I'm going to use these lesson plans for next week. And that, like I said, that's lesson 2. Now for lesson 3, I did Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I had these all dated for January 17th, but we got some snow, and then some of our kids were quarantined due to COVID and blah, 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 whatever. So I wasn't able to get around to this until just here recently. And now I have put my baby down for a nap, and I'm able to record lesson 2 and 3 and what I was going to do with those. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day is going to be the assignment, but it's going to be about diversity. The early childhood standards that would be used to complete this assignment would be a variety of media materials, such as paint, glue, three-dimensional materials, and technology, etc. English and language arts initiates communication to have needs met, responds meaningful in conversations and discussion with peers and adults, speaks clearly enough to be understood by most listeners, uses complex sentences with correct grammar, attends to adult or peer who is speaking/signing, follows simple directions, gains information through listening experiences, recognizes some letters of the alphabet. Most of my preschoolers know all of their ABCs. I have an ABC rug upstairs that when I do my assistive technology and my communication with parents assignments, I have to take some pictures. Jens will be able, Miss Donna will be able to see that rug. Most of my students like to hop from the letters and say their ABC, so they're able to recognize them. Follows routines independently, takes care of personal health safety needs with adult support as needed. Science describes objects in terms or similarities or differences. Social studies follows routines with little supervision, recognizes and identifies differences in personal characteristics and family makeup, recognizes that people differ in language, dress, food, etc. This is what this assignment is about, is diversity. So they will recognize and defer that not everyone's the same. That was a good childhood standard that I like to put there because that's part of this assignment. Recognizes and accepts similarities and differences, which is also a part of this assignment. The lesson objectives would be the student will use fine motor skills, eye-hand coordination to crack the eggs in their cups to color their activity and write the responses in the blanks. The student will use speech and language developed in cognitive thinking to be able to respond to my questions about what they notice about the eggs and what their dream is. Okay. The materials needed would be cups, paper towels, white eggs, brown eggs, activity sheet, crayons, pencils, big sheet of paper, and black Sharpie. The motivation for this assignment was, I will introduce this lesson by informing the students that today, January 17th, like I said, snow came in, daycare schools were canceled, and then a bunch of our kids were quarantined. January 7th is a national holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I will then ask them if they know who that is or what he did. And for preschoolers, many of them won't know who Martin Luther King Jr. is or the holiday. So this assignment will be really good. I will then ask them if they know who that is or what he did and get their input on the subject. They will then become interested in the lesson. First, we will go down to the school-aged classroom. Like I said, my preschool room is kind of like a big sunroom. There's windows all around it. There's two shelves that split our infant classroom and our preschool classroom into two rooms. It's big enough that we have infants on one side, preschools on the other. One big TV, whatever. So when there's lessons like this, we go down to the school-age classroom because during August to May, all of our school-age classrooms are at school and don't come after daycare hours to the daycare. We have them when there is no school, such as a holiday, Christmas breaks, Thanksgivings. But during this time, we use the school-age classroom for the smart board, the tables, the pencils, the crayons, whatever. All of that's down there right now. So we will go down there and we will gather around the smart board in circle time to listen to I'm Martin Luther King Jr. by Brad Meltzer, which is a read aloud on YouTube, due to me not having the book to read with them. I then will hand all the students 2 cups with a white egg and a brown egg in them and a paper towel just in case there's a mess so I can set their cups on the paper towels. And their activity sheet with a box of crayons and a pencil. Which here is the activity sheet. This says Martin Luther King Jr. This is the outside look, and they will color one brown, and it's already white, but many students like to take a white crayon and color it in. And the students will notice that the 2 eggs in their cup, as well on their paper, will look different, will look different, and they will put that on the line right here. I will then instruct the students I will then ask them to crack open their eggs one at a time. And then they will have a cup for their eggshells to go in. I will then ask them to crack their eggs inside of the cup and observe the eggs in their cup. They will then color this egg the same color as their egg in their cup. And then they will fill in the blank that the inside looked the same. The bottom down here, Martin Luther King Jr. wanted everyone to be treated. And then during the story on YouTube, it told them that Martin Luther King Jr. wanted everyone to be treated equally, fairly, whatever the students decide to use as their word. We will discuss that. We then will take turns. We will listen to the cleanup song. We will clean our mess up because many of my preschoolers are used to transitioning with the cleanup song. Everything we do, we clean up afterwards to transition to the next activity. We then will take turns talking about a dream we had, and I will write their insight on a big poster board in front of the classroom labeled Martin Luther King had a junior had a dream, with a big dream cloud. And I will ask the students what their dream is, and we will fill them up on the board. And then I will hang it out. I was going to hang it on January 17th out in the hallway on a bulletin board for the parents to see. But COVID happened, and we got a big snowstorm, so we weren't able to do this activity. I wish I could have, but I didn't. The evaluation of the child learning that I wrote down on my lesson plan, I will ask the students at the end of the activity what they have learned about Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I'll observe and record their responses during the activity at the end. I also take pictures as well as have a video to put in the records for an assessment. All of my kids in my classroom have a portfolio. Anything they do, whether it be playing with a truck, and free play, whether it be dramatic play, props, musical, anything I notice I put in their portfolio, and observe, write, and a doodle notes for my records. We have parent-teacher conferences on the last Friday of every month. We discuss the students' progress, anything that's set them behind. I do all that on the last Friday of every month to help the parents out, help the students out, get them ready for kindergarten. My students are very good students. I have very much fun doing lesson plans and stuff with them. But these lesson plans, like I said, I'm going to do winter weather fun next week with them and hopefully get to record it and add it to my YouTube page as well, because I enjoy doing that. And Martin Luther King Jr. Day is already passed, so I'm going to keep this one for next year. I'm going to submit this to my YouTube page now. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Bye-bye.